Welcome back, everyone. Podcast topic today is coming right out of our WhatsApp messages. Right, Satya?
Yeah, and this was a topic brought to us by our platinum coach, Rachel.
Oh,
yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Rachel.
she's the one who introduced it.
Cool.
Who was on an episode not too long ago.
Yeah, that's real. What'd you do this weekend? Since we didn't get to that part of the morning conversation, we still have a little banter. We don't want to get too serious too quickly.
Right away. I went out to my niece's soccer game yesterday in Nevada.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're hitting the NYSA soccer rotations.
It was fun. It was hot, but it was fun.
I was deep in the rotations this weekend.
Oh, yeah. I know. You're in the rotations every weekend.
4 different games, man.
4 different games?
Oh, man.
Holy moly.
Yeah. What field was it at?
It was at the Nevada Mixed Use at Nevada High.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Soccer games. Man, we got crushed this weekend.
Really?
It just breaks my heart. Not that like our girls are even old enough to care about like scores and stuff. Like we're not supposed to be keeping score. No one's really paying attention. Everyone's winning.
Oh,
right?
people are paying attention.
They're paying attention, but it's like when you're just getting scored on left and right by the other team, it's not as fun.
Yeah, well, that's what Pascal always complains about because she likes to play soccer at school, but I guess it's not cool to try in middle school. And so there's only a couple kids that are actually trying to play the game and everyone else is actively trying to not play the game. Mm-hmm. And so she was super bummed because she would just get crushed every single game she played.
Oof. Rough.
Yeah.
Rough. Always try and take away I'm always thinking about some lesson that I'm seeing from this in terms of like how it impacts coaching.
Yeah.
Isn't that just sweet? That's how I'm just walking through life. How is this impacting?
How's this impacting coaching? What's your soccer insight?
Well, I was like really evaluating my own coaching style of soccer players.
Yeah.
6-year-old soccer players.
Yes.
Different animal than coaching adults on, fitness, but just like the just you cannot overcomplicate things for people, you know? It's like don't overcomplicate it. Keep it as simple as you can. Just tell these girls, hey, here's one thing we're going to work on right now. Just, go and stand next to somebody on the other team. That's like, defense.
Right.
It's like, hey, go find a buddy on the other team and just stand next to them. That's all we got to do right now.
Right.
Or like in the second half of our first game, like, hey, guys, who gets excited when we score goals? Like everyone's raising their hand. What do we have to do to score a goal? It's like, we gotta shoot the ball. I was like, yeah, but before you can even shoot it, you have to kick it. Like, and we just didn't kick it very much the first half. So let's kick it some more the second half. There was just like no kicking happening. It was a lot of standing near the other team, but not really kicking it. I was like, all right, let's get into this.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. One thing I did not realize about soccer as a sport, generally speaking, is that there's no regulation size field. Is that correct?
Well, youth soccer, it varies. Yeah. I mean, they try and start small enough so that the kids aren't like running, 100 yards.
Sure.
But there's a lot of variance that I'm seeing like at the different size fields. But then you get up to, there's a regulation full size field that they would use in like the Olympics or the World Cup.
Okay. Yeah. Because most sports are so tightly regulated on how the space is used. And so it's just funny with soccer because there's so much running back and forth that like you could be at a giant field or a small field or.
Yeah. I mean, once you get past like 13 years old, it's like, it's standard, you know, like all the high school fields are the same size.
Yeah, that's what my niece's game was.
Yeah. But I mean, they put like 9-year-olds on these giant fields and I'm like, that's quite the distance. It's quite the step up from last year when it was like half the size. It's like they're getting real tired. Yeah. A lot more subs.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, soccer, check.
Yeah.
What did Rachel tell us about in the chat?
Well, she introduced a very resonant topic with many of the ladies in there, which was that she reported on going out to dinner with her family and going to a great burger place and wanting to just be normal and eat what the family's eating instead of ordering the chicken breast on the side type of thing at the burger place.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm going to indulge and kind of use up some of my like rare indulgences with food because she's normally on the ball when it comes to her nutrition. So she intentionally ate a burger and had a shake. And then she was like, it was totally not worth it. Like the burger wasn't that good after all. And like the shake kind of made me feel sick. And then it's like the worst when you sort of like blow your calories on something and then it's like not even worth it. And it really sparked this whole discussion of how everyone is approaching treat meals, treat foods, that balance of wanting to be quote unquote normal, just kind of go with the flow, do what the crowd is doing and not always be thinking about it and carrying the mental load of how many extra calories this is all the time, because when you track, you know that stuff. And then at the same time, recognizing that, hey, if I go too far in the other direction, it's not going to get me where I want to go. And someone else in the group was chiming in that, like, you know, their relative was saying how amazing they look. And then in the same breath saying like, oh, like you're really going to like weigh that food, track that food. It's like, yeah, like that's kind of what I got to do. That's how that works.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so what's her question out of that? I mean, that's something I'm sure a lot of listeners right now can relate to, but what's the question that comes out of that?
Yeah, I think the question is, how do you do the mental calculation of like when to quote unquote spend your indulgence calories? You know, are you just the person who like has, you know, a regular schedule? Maybe it's like one meal a week, one meal a month. I can just sort of go hog wild, or have one extra thing, or do I play it by ear? And if you play it by ear, how do you kind of keep the general picture in cohesion? That's one question, is like, is there a strategy for like how to know when you want to go a little bit off program when it comes to nutrition? And I think the other question is, are we really just going to be mentally calculating how many calories are in everything for the rest of our lives? You know, and like, what are the trade-offs of that?
What's your take on that? Like, how do you calculate? What's your calculus on when you're going to indulge and kind of get let your calculating brain quiet down?
Yeah, to be honest, it's been shifting for me lately, and I've really noticed that shift, and I have mixed feelings about it. I used to not track what I ate at all, and just generally tried to go for similar types of meals throughout the week that I knew had protein, or I knew weren't, you know, completely horrific for me in whatever way. And I've always been like someone who hasn't really struggled with my body weight. Sometimes I'll be more lean than other times, but I've never had the experience of like being really far off where I want to be in terms of body composition and having to do a lot of work to get it back. So I've been really loose in the past. And then I've noticed that, oh, like you and I went through this whole process where I was not having enough energy to do the things that I wanted to do in the gym, and having some downstream health effects from probably underfueling for quite some time. And so when I started to really pay attention to macros and calories, I really noticed the impacts on my energy as well as body composition and my strength and my performance. It was all around such a net positive. And so I've really bought into the value of tracking wholeheartedly, when I never used to be that way. But now when it comes to things that are outside of the foods that I know get me closer to where I want to be, I'm much more hyper conscious of the little decisions that I make. And like even the other day, like I'm kind of going through a little, like my metabolism is probably kind of caught up to where I've been at calorie wise, and we're bumping up calories a little bit this week. And there's just been a change in the last few days when I've been so hungry. And I was like, it's not like what's the worst that's going to happen if I just like eat an extra bowl of something, like, you know, even after I've hit my calories for the day. Nothing. It's not like I'm going to like balloon up and like become this like obese person overnight, or like totally go off the rails and like not be able to like keep it in check. Like nothing bad is going to happen, but I'm still so reluctant to like go off program. And I can't tell if I'm sort of developing like a little bit of mental fixation on like, this is the thing I know it works, and so I'm going to really, really stick to it, you know, and I don't want to like go off the beaten path. And And then on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, man, sometimes I just want to be normal and like not have to do the mental calculations every single time of like, oh, should I get the burger or the salad or the burger or the salad, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the language you use there to say that being normal is that is like defined by not having a high level of awareness around your calorie intake, or do you think that's normal, or is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, I think normal people don't have a high awareness of their calorie intake. And if you go out with a group of people, random people, no one is going to be talking about like
What's
the macros of the menu.
Yeah, that is true, most likely. And do you think that those normal people have it better, like as a whole? Like how can we define whether that's like, oh, I want to be free of all like mental load that considering calories and macros and whatever I'm eating takes up?
Right. Yeah.
What's the trade-off that they...
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the trade-off is people have a harder time managing their weight. They're not as fit. They have downstream health effects, but not always, you know? It's like there are people who just sort of generally like eat healthy, maintain a good body composition and go to the gym and like they're perfectly fine.
But before we go any further.
Yeah.
That's what that statement is pretty important to like really get granular on. What percentage of the population do you think it has to meet all these criteria, don't consider much of what they're eating each day?
Yeah.
They go to the gym, they have good body composition, and they don't have to really ever consider their body weight. What percentage of people have that?
Yeah, probably pretty small in the US, especially.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a figure to give you.
Yeah.
But my guess is it's in the 1% range or less.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really that small.
Yeah.
Because people who have the body composition or lack of struggle with weight, there is something that they have built into their life that puts them in the top percent of nutritional intake, movement, or muscle mass. And those don't happen by mistake. Those are deep things that are built into them culturally, habitually,
Sure.
that they've at some point spent some time around.
Yeah.
And I think that right there gets to the crux of this entire conversation, where people still think there is a way out there where I can just turn my brain off, exist, and have everything that I want and avoid everything that I don't want. And so that it's almost, I mean, this deserves a lot more of a conversation. But when I hear that, I'm like, oh, you want to go be normal? What's normal look like for most people?
Yeah.
And it's the average of what we see. And it's the average that most people are just absolutely tormented thinking that they are this way. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be this way, but I want to be able to turn my brain off to these things.
Yeah. And I think two other things come up for me. Like, one is that a lot of quote unquote normal people who don't think about these things are extremely self-conscious and have like that battle of, I think it's pretty normal to just be like obsessing over how you look in the mirror and how other people perceive you and how your clothes fit. And like, I don't have that. Like, I get to not have that mental load. The other thing is that like, I live my life as a whole very intentionally in ways that I know are not normal. I work more than the average person. I'm obsessed with my work. I don't have a social life. I'm a huge hermit. Like, and over time, those are choices that I've made more and more intentionally because I'm like, you know what? Like, I actually like it. You know, that actually, like, I mean, yeah, I have ways to grow as a person for sure, and not just like, you know, hermit up for the rest of my life, but like, there are things that I do intentionally that are different because I really am ambitious in certain ways, focused in certain ways. I like what I like in certain ways. And so I think that like there's a little bit of an aspect of taking on the identity of someone who's like into fitness, and you just have to accept that like, yeah, you're going to be the person who like weighs things or like thinks about things or like,
Yeah.
you know?
Going back to what you said before, it sort of sounds to me like you have to sort of decide, and this is like probably a saying that a lot of people use in different parts of life, but it's like you kind of have to choose what you're going to struggle with or what's going to be hard. You know, choose your hard.
Choose your hard.
And I definitely am of the belief that like there is probably a path that is less hard for you to live. Like, it's like if we just could give like life a score each day where it like combine like this is how hard it is versus this is how much fulfillment I get. It's kind of like weighing like the struggles with the positives, and 10 out of 10 would be like, actually I don't even know how, like 10, because I'm saying that there's probably not a life without challenge, but like there's a sweet spot for you where like you can maximize fulfillment and minimize challenge and create the largest gap between the two.
Yes.
And that is your 10. Like I'm living my 10 today where I'm feeling amazing. I'm having a wonderful day, and I'm only having to put in, this much effort to get the return on that.
Sure.
I want people to pursue that. That's like why I teach them tools, because none of the tools that I teach people to like optimize fitness and health are easy. None of them are.
Yeah.
Like even getting up and going for a walk is still hard. Like you got to get up and go for the walk, and you got to pull yourself away from your screen, and you got to, set aside time to like make that happen. However, it's like, okay, well, that's it's a small-ish effort with potentially a big return if you do it consistently. Okay, well, let's coach that. Same thing with food tracking. Like there's tracking food, which in and of itself is an annoyance, and it's something that like nobody wishes they had to like calculate what's on the paper or what's on their plate. Nobody wants to. By putting in that effort, what do I get back in return?
Yeah. And
the people that maybe do it more diligently for a period of time learn, hey, when I do this thing, I get a big return on it.
Yes.
Then there's another phase of your life where you're like, man, when I do this thing and I do it diligently, I'm not getting as big a return, and it's feeling like more of an effort than it was before. So maybe that changes for you in the future, and you're like, I got to pull back on that level of detail in my tracking. So what can I pull back to that is not zero, right? Well, maybe you've tracked food for 5 years, and now when you stop tracking, you just have such awareness of what's going on your plate that you can make more educated decisions. You try that for 3 months, and you find out, damn, I'm not having to use the app anymore. I'm just making good choices based upon what I learned for 5 years, and I still look and feel the way I want to feel. This is great. Yeah, you still might have to go out to pizza with friends and overanalyze like what you're eating. But if you didn't have to overanalyze what you're eating and it was just happening normally, like a normal person, big air quotes on that, then you might not be super stoked of how you look and feel because you're overindulging, or you're just not aware of how much, food you're actually eating in a given week. There could be another scenario where you try that for 3 months and your body composition goes in a direction that you're not happy with. Yeah. And you're like, oh, shoot, that's harder. Not feeling good in my body is harder than it was to track the food. Yeah. I'm going to go back to tracking the food because that optimized this discrepancy between fulfillment and challenge, and now I'm back at a 10, or my number went down to a 5 out of 10 because when I stopped. So you get to choose those things, but you have to have a way of measuring, like not measuring the positive impact that something has on your life relative to the work that you put in. And those aren't questions you can ask answer in a single day. Yeah. You can't just be like when can I just turn off my, it's like, okay, what's the plan for the next 3 to 6 months? Let's implement this as like your awareness strategy. And then does that give you what you want? Yeah. And if it was less work and an equal return, then that's a win. If it was less work, but you actually saw a little bit of regression in your body composition, you get to make a decision. You're like, well, I still feel like right now, for example, my body composition for me in my own brain and how I show up in the world is not peak Marcus as I've experienced it. But I'm also not as ruthlessly wedded to the numbers and to my macros as I have been in the past. This weekend, I didn't really, I didn't have the intention to like overeat both days, but I did. And it created less stress for me because we were celebrating my nephew's birthday party and I had some cake.
Yeah.
After I'd already finished my macros for the day.
Right.
And last night, it was like a last minute decision to go out to dinner with some friends. And I had already had all my food for the day and it was 6:00 and I ate the leftovers. Like when Noah and Joey got sushi that they didn't finish, I was like, well, I'm not going to waste this. I'll eat this, you know? And I didn't like fight that urge or overthink it. And I get to look at my body in the mirror and be like, you know, it's not the best I've ever looked, but I feel pretty good about it. I feel good.
Yeah.
And that's a good balance for me right now. Will that change in the future? Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, I just think it's like maybe the first point that we made, assuming that there is a world where you can have just turn, like you will arrive someday at a point where you get to turn off awareness about how food interacts in your life, and then also still feel like your peak fitness, you know, like confidence, etc. I think that is a false dream that people have when they're in the struggle of like having to track things or hold on to some system that helps give them the health body results that they want.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think something else you said really resonates with me too, which is that the way that you do it today doesn't have to be the way you do it forever. You know, there can be periods just like training where you're like really dialed in and being very intentional and being very diligent with details and going the extra mile. And there can be times when like you're doing 90% of it and that's great. And you have just a little bit more leeway and freedom. And if it stops working, you just change.
It's like with weight training, you know, and I've come to really appreciate this in the last 2 years. The work that it took me to build the muscle versus the work that it takes me to maintain the muscle now, vastly different. It's very hard on the climb.
Yeah.
But at some point, it becomes more and more second nature, or it becomes more and more like you've earned it, and now you just got to put small little deposits to maintain it. Mm-hmm. There's something like that with nutrition and nutritional awareness, for sure. Because like you said, you do it for such a long period of time, track for such a long period of time. It's hard to kind of turn that off in your brain. You can't not look at a plate the same anymore. Mm-hmm. I do think that the goal with learning food tracking is something where you do it very diligently for a period of time to really teach yourself what strict adherence can do. Then you intentionally be a little bit more relaxed. Not like I'm just going to stop, but like I'm going to track at 90% compliance instead of 100%. You know, mm-hmm. And again, that's a very individual thing that needs to be figured out for each person. But if you do that in some like step back approach, then over time, maybe like the course of a year or 6 months, you can sort of see, okay, what do I give up by going from 100% really diligent, compliant tracking down a little bit. For some people, they see very minimal change to their outcomes. They're like, oh, and now I go over on my calories by a couple hundred, 2 or 3 days a week, and it's not really impacting my physique at all. It's like, okay, cool. So you've learned that you have more flexibility than you had when we first started. And that continues on and on. And I've learned that for myself. I have more flexibility now. I mean, I have a female client that asked me the question, like, how do you deal with this? Like, how have you done it? And then she almost answered her own question. She's like, I get that you've like been doing this a long time, so you have more flexibility now. I'm like, yes, that's right. Like, that's exactly what I have worked, you know, in some way doing this for close to 20 years.
Yeah.
And I'm also not going to pretend like it's just a nothing burger. I never think about it, and it's never, you know, somewhat frustrating. And what I actually thought about when you first started was, yeah, there is a world where you don't really ever have to think about it. It's a world that is like, has basically, you have no stress. You sleep perfectly. You engage with the natural environment on a regular basis, and movement is just built into your daily life in, you know, a pretty substantial way. Those people generally don't have to think about food that much. Like, kind of eat, like, that's when your body gets into such good rhythms with, like, you know, your hormones, your nervous system, your physical recovery, your mental, emotional recovery. Like, you have connection to the earth. You're not in traffic and staring at a screen every day. Like,
like Oren.
yeah, it's like, it's not that common, you know? I think people want to believe that that's accessible. And there's probably a future where pharmacology helps make that happen. Maybe it's even starting now with like GLP-1 drugs, but, you know, where basically like, you know, maybe it's like neuromodulators that just like make your relationship to food just simple and easy. Maybe. But for the time being, like, I just don't see many people that you would, you know, say are quote unquote normal that are winning in the health and fitness world in terms of like good health markers, good health outcomes, good, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to say this as a reminder to myself, and maybe it'll resonate with someone else as well. But I also think that there's something to be said for like, yeah, sometimes like doing hard things is good. You know? Like, I'm the person that wanted to do a strict ring muscle up before ever learning a kipping one. Like, that's the hard path that I took intentionally because there's something that I get out of that. So there's something there too for me. Yeah.
And being able to sort of measure like, or have like a scale to say like, hey, I want this outcome. This is how, like, it's actually kind of like the old precision nutrition rubric, which was like, if you want to be sub 10% body fat, first off, like, what does sub 10% body fat look like on a man? Okay, here's a picture. Is that what you want? Yeah, I want that. Okay, here's like the pretty exhaustive list of everything that somebody who has this does.
Yeah.
And this is just observational, you know, data on thousands of participants. They don't drink alcohol ever, maybe once a month. They get a minimum of 7 hours of sleep per night consistently. They strength train 4 to 5 times per week, or roughly 7 to 9 hours. Or, you know, they always hit their protein in grams, and they stay very, very adherent to their calories. They minimize, if not completely abstain from social outings. They, you know, it's like it was this very exhaustive list of,
that describes me.
and paint a picture of what this person does. And then you go up, okay, what does 12 to 15% body fat look like on a man? There's a picture. Is that what you want? Yes, I want to look like that. Okay, here's the list for that person. And it's essentially the same list minus about 2 or 3 like degrees of, you know,
being strict,
right? And then you go all the way up to like 30% body fat. Okay, is that what you want to look like? This person generally just eats out every single day. They don't have a physical activity program. They, you know, it's like they never track anything. Like they, you know, and so it might be valuable for us to revisit that. And be like, hey, this is like the FBB, you know, Persist Platinum rubric of like, hey, if this is what you want, generally this is what these people are doing. If this, and we have data on a lot of people, I can be like, well, there's Andy, and this is what he does all the time. And he's pretty, you know, consistent with it. And that's what it takes to have that. And here's what so-and-so does, and that's what it takes to have that. And here's what somebody else does. And this is what, you know, this is what it takes to have that. And where do you want to be? Right? Yeah. Anyway, that was, thanks for bringing that topic up, Rachel. And thanks for bringing it to the podcast today, Satya. Any
Yeah.
closing thoughts you want to share?
No.
Me neither.
Okay.
See you guys next time.
I'll see you next time.